Yo, what's up? Yo, 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 yo. On that twist. What you drinking there? What you drinking there?
Come on now, it's pineapple juice.
Pineapple.
All right.
All right.
You know what I'm saying? It's cold, exported from the earth itself.
Exploded from the earth itself. Yeah, understandable.
Exploited.
Gotta make sure that X is in the word.
X is a very important letter.
Yeah, it is. It's right before the end.
And it's right after Malcolm.
All
right, so
Look, man.
it's another day in the neighborhood.
It's
True for dualism.
We've had our ups and downs. We had our overcoming situations, but I do kind of wanted to speak to you about something I kind of made a realization on recently, especially when it comes to people in general. Honestly,
I got my ears perked.
So
like Molly's.
So I've come to realize that one of our, because I'm a firm believer on the thought process of too much of anything is a bad thing, right? It's hard to argue against something like that because it's like, you can go to even base setup, like,
most definitely.
You drink too much water, the one thing you need the most, you'll
Inflation.
drown. Right. You'll straight up die. It will kill you. It's
a consistent law.
Right. It's natural.
Right.
But even still, we exist in a world of extremists. And
that's three different ways to say
And look, man. So I've kind of realized that people are being way too empathetic.
Now, what does that word mean?
What's that word mean?
I've always had apathetic.
Yeah.
Empathetic. I've always had an issue with the effect.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll give you.
I've always been like, all right.
Yeah. All
it's
right.
affected me.
It's effect.
No, it's effect.
Right.
It's effect.
But I'll give you basically just a rundown. Apathetic means to see the world but not to do anything about it.
Apathy means to see the world but not do anything about it.
Yeah, basically, not in. I'm not saying it by definition, but that's basically what an apathetic person does.
Okay.
To do nothing when you have the power to do anything.
Wait. When you have the power to do something,
you're apathetic. Yeah.
Pathetic.
Right.
I mean. Alright, go ahead.
Then there's empathy. Empathy is to feel.
Empathy
is to feel and understand. Is to feel the emotions of others, and it reflects upon you, and it
flex.
It affects your actions towards that person. Like, you see someone dying of thirst, and your empathy runs into you, be like, I don't want this person to die of thirst. I know what it's like, or at least I don't know what it feels like, but I'm gonna feel what he feels, and I'm gonna give him my bottle of water. That's empathy.
I'm already seeing the track you laying, the trail that you setting on sail. I don't even know where I was going with that. Bad. All I know is I see where you're going with this. There's too much of that going on, and it's been backfiring.
Because here's the thing, like, People never want to actually argue with empathy because empathy is
You can't. Oh,
you can't argue with empathy because it sounds so morally righteous, right?
but it might be the most evil one.
Yes.
We're
Because
gonna need to break that down, but I think the trail has been set.
because
Y'all can start hiking now.
it doesn't
White people.
like one very important thing is that no matter what you do, no matter what it is, anything can be turned into a bad thing or be used for its wrong intentions. And it's not the fact that empathy is bad, but it's the fact that people are overusing it and relying on it to make their decisions.
Now, what's an example of this? That
A good example.
that you've seen.
A good example. I'll put a scenario to you. All right. So, let's say that a guy, you're in a room with another person, right?
He's a man.
And man, it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
Doesn't really matter. The person just has a gun, right?
No, it definitely don't matter.
Person has a gun, and they intend to kill someone that you know in the room with you, right? You don't have anything. You can't do anything about it, but the person with the gun tells you to leave the room, right? So you leave the room.
So the picture, just to recap the episode so far, two people are inside the room, and then the person comes in with the gun, tells you to leave, to then leave the other person in there with. Okay, all right.
Yes.
So you're asking me what would I do?
No. I'm not asking you. I'm giving you this scenario. I'm describing this to you.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. My bad.
So, right, you leave the room because you don't want to die, but you can't actually, like, even if you try to attempt to, it would be fruitless because the guy can shoot you immediately. He's too far away. You can't do anything about it. You have to leave the room, right?
You gotta go.
So you do so, right? The person that was left in the room gets shot and dies.
You hear it. You outside the room.
You are aware that person that you left behind died from this, right? Right?
Well, from that person, not because of you, but
because the person with the gun shot that person, right?
Just say, all right, you get out of here. I came for him.
Right.
Boom.
Right. So, and then the guy with the gun leaves, and then you live with the idea, right? Hang on. You live with the idea that even though you couldn't have done anything at all, your brain will still tell you could have done something about it.
Your brain will start calculating. Your brain will be like, man, I should have.
To the point of it really getting to you.
Taekwondo classes a little bit more.
Right.
I would have been able
like
to.
You would have been regretting your entire life to get to the point where you could have done something better, right?
So
but
some would say that.
Okay.
So, but that's because of empathy.
No. This is where it adds on, because empathy exists in that too. But this is where it adds on to, because empathy rips you apart because you couldn't do anything about it. But here's the thing.
It's the side effect.
It's a side effect. But here's the thing. It's not just that. But let's just say someone outside of the situation who wasn't there, didn't see it, but just knew what happened and knew what you did, that you left the room, criticized you because they are empathetic for the person who died, and criticized you because you didn't do anything about it.
You didn't try to.
Right. but you know you couldn't.
I mean, if you know, you know.
Right.
But I see what you mean. I can't speak for myself. I know, certain levels of being, because empathy, like you said, is necessary. So I would feel for that person. I would have empathy for the fact that you were just in that situation. I wouldn't criticize you, but I understand you can also have empathy in the sense that you can criticize him for not doing anything.
Right.
But both is.
But the fact of the matter of, you're so empathetic about the person who died that you'd rather criticize the person who left the room instead of criticizing the person who shot the person.
Yeah, I mean, there'll always be someone.
You've gone backwards. Because victim.
Yeah.
Because there's such thing as victim shame, right? When a person who survives a situation feels as though they didn't deserve to be the person that survived. They preferred if someone else had taken their place, right?
Yeah.
In the cycle of life, right? That's called victim shame. People do that to themselves, especially guys. Guys do it to themselves the most.
Yeah, and there's a lot of situations where you could be the one that wasn't there, and now you over here telling somebody else, like, man, if I was there, come on, you know what I would have done?
Right.
I would have slipped right up, and I would have snatched that gun right of his fingertips.
Right. And you want to believe that, but you don't. Well, most people either don't know or simply just won't. They simply, in a situation where they're,
if I was there,
right. If I was there, right.
Never.
Right. But in reality,
Catch me slipping like that.
But in reality, everything sounds good in your head.
Because everything really is cartoony like that. Like the banana was on the floor and you start slipping.
Right.
Because you really didn't know the banana was on the floor.
Right. You really didn't know.
And you think because, I get all the fruits of my labor, I'm never going to slip on a banana. But you might slip on a banana.
Right.
Let me go sip this pineapple juice, man. Hold on.
But, look. Feeling that pineapple.
Fruits of my labor, man.
I'm empathetic for the pineapple. But look, man. So this is almost a real story. The person who survived was ridiculed, and then he killed himself.
There you go. That's where I knew this was going, where suicide has risen, and I think it has to do a lot with that sense of guilt certain people have. And that sense of guilt where they feel like they can't escape their past or their ancestry's past, or at least what they perceive to be their ancestry. Like they can't just let go of and rebirth a new type of person. But empathy is the weapon that's being used right now a lot on Earth when it comes to the internet, the way people communicate with one another. It's this aggression to be the first, to be the most empathetic, the most righteous person. Now, there ain't nothing wrong with a righteous man, but if all you're doing is trying to be,
and all you're doing is making other people believe that you are, instead of making yourself do righteous,
an example to exemplify that. But nothing will ever be good without moderation.
Right. Because not all battles are a battle of right and wrong. Not all battles.
But explain to me where empathy has crossed the line for you personally in a scenario.
Well, partially because of that scenario I described to you, but also it's just a simple fact that people.
Do you say that you lack empathy?
No. I'm in fact, if I want to be more accurate about myself, I am extremely empathetic. I to the point of it almost being flawful. But I criticize myself on this.
That's your Achilles heel?
Not my Achilles heel. It's just I know that if I'm not paying myself attention, I could be the guy yelling at that one dude for walking away when I should just be angry at the fact that the guy even that
started the situation.
Right, that started the situation. I shouldn't be that guy blaming the dude who walked away because he did nothing wrong.
Do you think that excessive empathy blinds you to the root of the problem?
It can. Absolutely. Because it by itself isn't wrong. It's just how you're putting up with it. Because everything's a choice. Everything's a choice. Even the fact that I am extensively empathetic. And I know I am because of how I communicate and how I see how I'm capable of engaging.
I mean,
with
I'll say
in
this
life.
too. You've always been on our communication time shift. Always been, and you never shifted on this certain. You've always been the type of person to look at the other side, and that's an empathetic trait.
Yes.
To look at the other side and try to see. Well, maybe it's come on. You know what I mean? Like maybe it's this other thing.
It can't be all that evil. Yeah.
Even your ability to share some recognition with villains is empathetic, because you're even willing to stretch your hand out for the person everyone hates.
Yes. Yeah. That is
at that moment.
That is in by its base empathy. For me, would it culminate this into the fact that I greatly more enjoy villains than I do heroes.
Because you think maybe heroes are blatantly like excessively empathetic.
Yes, but like a lot of heroes and a lot of stories are either utilize their empathy in the wrong ways, or
that's true,
or they're just so by definition what people want to believe is righteous that they just can't be wrong about anything. There's not a flaw in their system, and that's why some heroes always fail with me. But it's also like why I can respect people like Spider-Man, because he wants to be righteous, but he isn't.
But and we're gonna look at the other side of the spectrum here. Super Duper Man.
Right.
I think he's on that side of the corny, excessive.
Yeah.
Can do no wrong. Especially, with the arrogancy. You know what I mean? When you go against Batman and shit, and you're gonna see that he actually didn't even stand a chance.
Right.
That's because he made the assumption. Well, no. Well, I don't think that's related to empathy. I think that leads on to apathy. But I mean, so apathy isn't part of the problem at all. Because I mean, I rarely is apathy thrown.
Apathy is also part of the problem. Because, in the end of the day, as I've taken and firmly believe, apathy is death.
Now, is that your quote? Because I saw that to be a quote.
Yeah, that is a fervent quote.
What you know what it is? You know what question is incoming? You know what I mean? It's like the missiles they came over to Cuba with. It's a missile crisis. I'm telling you straight up. What does that mean? Apathy is death.
It basically means that if you allow yourself to be consumed by apathy, if you do nothing, you're not really alive, are you? And you're just gonna get yourself killed.
You might as well be buried.
Right. Apathy.
You're not doing nothing for the soil.
Right. Apathy is death. To do nothing because of your empathy. To do nothing that you can't act on your on that empathy to do to at least cause some type of effect, some type of echo effect. Then
one day
it's just death.
One day an episode will come out on the echo effect.
Never. But anyway,
ignore that situation.
But anyway, if like that's basically what it means. Apathy can be fed off of empathy. Someone can be empathetic that they become apathetic. But also someone can lack empathy and become apathetic.
For me, the way I use my empathy is very selective. Because I end up being a skeptic to share my empathy with people.
Right.
Especially multiple people at one time.
Right.
Like
right.
if I share my empathy, I really want to make sure that person knows it. I'm one of those people that directs it, and I use it as a way to.
If you try to utilize it on multiple people, you're always thinking like, oh yeah, they could be thinking that I'm not being genuine.
And it's more of like validation for them to recognize my empathy. But for example, if you proclaim to someone, like let's just say that this is a strange situation in this social line of work that the earth deals with on a day-to-day basis. But if like you tell someone, it's a blessing to have your father in your life. Let's just say you'd say that to a woman,
right?
Because that they have an active father in their life, and you say that to them, and you proclaim for them because you have empathy for their situation, that they're feeling that there's moments in life where you may not enjoy the presence of that parent or that person that's over you, but you can recognize, especially for a woman, I'm speaking, especially for a woman, that the father's presence is crucial. You know what I mean? Like having an active father, it can be very crucial for a woman specifically.
Right.
And then you proclaim at the same time that, look, I'm a real man. Don't get it twisted. I'm not trying to divulge the situation or the respect and dignity you can have for that. That's empathy for me, to share that with that person, and not let my apathy for the situation, because most people will be apathetic when they're dealing with relationships, for example. Like the harsher people in life, they'll try to be apathetic because they think, if I'm too empathetic, I'm searching for validation. But if it's that thin line of saying I'm going to use it as a teaching tool, like bringing a sense of comfort for somebody is the way I use empathy.
Right.
You know what I mean? Thank you for the yawn, G. And I mean, we talking about emotions. I mean, emotions, especially with the testosterone, it's definitely not gonna be the most exciting conversation. But I'll tell you this: the pineapple juice comes strong. If that bitch is listening, you know what it is.
You know what it is. But I mean, when it comes to your emotions,
I'm never saying a word to you. Look, we evolve to evolve. It's light work. Disguise work, disguise curses. Most of these guys begin lives in hearses. We end up being Israelites, go beyond the surface. Beneath the end of the light of the tunnel, birthed them.
Breathe. Breathe.
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm alive.
Give yourself that option. You are alive.
My empathy and apathy, I've always maintained a good balance. I've never been too excessive on either side.
Yeah. But you always want to prove. You always want to be able to make sure that you're always proving your laurels in through your actions, because there's plenty of people who would want to believe that they're not being as excessive as they are, but in reality they are. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, I would need someone else to give me that observation, but
yeah.
I've shared my energy with enough people to know that the only thing I've been said to have is that, because there's certain people that, especially in this era, like you said, since there's an excessive amount, that there's certain people that would like to see certain people share more of it.
Mm-hmm.
Share more empathy. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that comes back to your initial observation, which is that there's too much of it going on, and it's preventing people from an equilibrium.
Right. I feel you.
It's preventing them from, having homeostasis.
Right.
Pause.
But
scientists did it. I'm sorry.
But no, it's it's always important to be balanced, and I think being perfectly balanced is always the right way to go. You should never truly be consumed by any side of anything for any reason, because
especially those people that would be walking around like, I'm gonna stand 10 toes down on this particular moral, and I'm not gonna twist or turn from it in any situation.
Right.
But empathy and apathy is an exercise to know that you don't have to bend to anybody or switch your code, but that's part of the code. Empathy and apathy is part of the code. You will share those moments naturally. It's when you try to malfunction your brain and overdo anything, overdrive on a particular emotion, whether it's apathy or empathy, where you get a result, either a genocide, or you get certain results like, even that result that we just explained with the shooter, you know what I mean? The shooters.
Yeah.
You get that result where people don't have the right direction when it comes to their empathy. They're kind of aiming everywhere, pun intended by the way, on everywhere else but the person. And you can always change the weapon the person uses, but if you don't aim at trying to acknowledge what the person is and becoming aware of that is the demon within that person, or that is the apathy within that person, or an excessive amount of it, because those two words aren't taught as much, or it's not necessarily because
it's not talked about as much,
right? Especially apathy. Apathy. You know what I mean? We talk about sociopaths, but I think apathy is a more dense word than sociopath, because sociopath being a sociopath does not mean you're apathetic. Pineapple just got me coughing, my bad.
Being a sociopath doesn't also mean that you're apathetic either.
Exactly.
Apathy is a much bigger term in that sense. In its own little realm. It's a bigger term. It means something completely different. It's a perspective difference. Because I mean, and there are many ways a person can be apathetic, but in the end of the day, it's as meaningless it is to not be apathetic. It's also meaningless to be apathetic if you follow that way of thinking. Because in truth,
now what's an example of apathy?
What do you mean?
What would be a perfect example of someone that's being apathetic? Like if in that situation,
Right. All right. Well, let's say that you are someone who has the power to help a community of homeless people. Right. From
you've
being,
reached a certain, I hear you.
You have a power that you can single-handedly help these homeless people.
Excuse me.
And let me add to it. More specifically, being actively harassed by a gang.
Yeah, no, these people are being compromised, not just
Right.
homeless.
They're not just the
but
fact that they're homeless.
and
They're also
desperate.
being compromised by people who believe themselves bigger than them. But you have the power to stop this yourself.
But you are also tied up with the gangs, make money with the gangs, and it would take sacrificing your relationship with these people. But you
Right.
have the power.
You have the power. Right? And you work under the pretense that you are constantly haunted and wanting to do something about it, but instead you hide and do nothing. Do you know what I'm saying?
So that's apathy 101.
Yes.
That's him hiding away from his empathy.
Right.
Because he think, well, I mean, is that apathy? I mean I know that's a form of apathy. Like that's a level of it. But what the highest level of apathy? That wouldn't be the highest level of apathy, right? Because
I wouldn't believe that. I mean, another example could be, how would I be able to put this? If you can see, that there's something wrong in your community, there's something corruptible in your community, right? You don't agree with that corruption. In fact, you want to fight for it. You want to do something about it. In fact, you even have the power to. And yet, you
Right.
hide.
That's apathy right there. Like that, there's a lot of people that not only hide, but they find comfort in their hiding spaces, their safe spaces, and they separate, and they fear being on that other side because they know that they'll be consumed by then they have to fight for themselves.
Right.
If they were in that position, so that then they think, okay, if I try to help, then I fall into their trap. So apathy is
Right. But it's
sense that
it's even more to that. Let me
most definitely
there's more to this.
expound.
Because let me not
Let the hounds out.
let me not misconstrue with my other example. let me not misconstrue with my other example. Like for example, all because you're a nihilist does
Right,
not
nihilist.
mean that you are empathetic. Do you know what I'm saying?
You say empathetic or apathetic?
Apathetic.
Okay.
I said empathetic, but I meant apathetic.
Okay.
Because apathy and nihilism aren't the same thing. For example,
Okay. Okay.
because look, a nihilist may see the world and believe that there is no reason or purpose to do anything. That doesn't mean that a nihilist doesn't do anything.
That is true. That's more of a philosophy of of like being calm.
Right.
I mean, nihilism can lead to high levels of apathy. That could be
absolutely. Absolutely.
The gateway drug into apathy. Like that could be the beginning of someone that's going to be highly apathetic.
Right.
But that's not there. You're not there yet.
That's not even the answer to the code either. Because to be a nihilist, for example, just means that you're not looking at everything as intensely as it would be intensified by the normal person, right? Things don't mean exactly what people want them to believe that they mean. And that not everything is, has to have a meaning. Not everything has to have a purpose or a point. Sometimes things happen because they do. Because people just do things. Because people want to do things. They don't need any outside force other than other people to motivate that. But that, all because you're a nihilist does not mean that you are also apathetic. Because apathy in the end of the day is to do nothing. Nihilism is the belief that everything is not anything. It is nothing. That doesn't mean I don't have to do. That doesn't mean I can't do anything about it.
It's just that you recognize that even if I do something about it, that won't be anything neither.
Right, but I still will do it.
Yeah, because what you're saying, nihilism is also a level of intelligence that you grow into having.
It's just accepting what you see the world as.
It don't mean anything, but you recognize the power in nothingness. Because it's clearly making the world go round. All this nothing,
right? All
this meaningless things. So you still might, or you won't condone all the meaningless things, but you recognize there are gonna things that hold meaning to you.
Right.
But apathy is, I'm letting go of purpose. I'm letting go of putting myself on the line for anything to have meaning. Because if I do that, because no matter what you do, you're either helping someone or you're destroying someone.
Yes.
And at the same time, even destroying someone is helping that person remodel and restructure.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Apathy would be outside of that. Too much apathy would break that balance.
Well, yeah, it's like,
well, of course.
Yeah, because if you're, absolutely,
is 1 + 1
if you're
2?
being apathetic, then you would see that, but then you would also do nothing for it or about it or anything at all.
Yeah, you wouldn't destroy. Right.
You wouldn't destroy or help.
You might as well be dead.
Yeah.
Apathy is death.
You feel me?
Are you deaf? Because if you listen to this episode, it's true for dualism.
There's always a duality to everything. Like most things are contradictions, but that's the effect of life. And in the end of the day, you shouldn't be apathetic. You shouldn't be overly apathetic. There's a reason for apathy. If you use it in balance, it's always there for you. There's a reason for empathy. If you use it in balance, everything's there for you. But if you allow yourself to be consumed by anything, no matter the thought process, no matter the way it is, no matter how it is, why it is, the moral ambiguity of it, there is something always wrong with it, and you should always be evaluating more to it. You should always be evaluating it. Always be testing yourself.
Right.
Always be testing your belief, and always be trying to add more onto it, improve it. Don't just believe it because it was sounded good the first time you heard it. Believe it because you tested it and you saw it as true. You saw it as what it should be. You made an action. You've acted on it. You don't just believe it. You believe that you know it, and you know it. And if it's not there, if what you believed at first was not there, if there's no merit to it, if there's no real achievement towards it, if it's flawed, then allow yourself to walk away from it. And if anything, you either make two choices. You either walk away from it, or you improve it and make it better. If you see a flaw, act on it. Don't just let it sit there. Don't let it sit there because you're used to it.
But when you've done your role, step away.
Right.
Don't be excessive, and
Don't be
don't
doing too
force
much.
other people.
Absolutely.
Don't force other people onto your journey.
Right. Because not everyone's gonna be on your journey except for you. You can only complete. You can only be the person. You're the only person to begin and end your journey.
And it's all about how you begin.
Right. But if you're thinking about it too selfishly, or you're thinking about it not selfish enough, if you're trying to include people too extremely, or you're not including people enough too extremely, then you are failing at achieving the goal. There's a time and place for everything, and there's a reason to do anything if you want it to be done, if it must be done. But just to give in absolutely or not at all is destructive upon you and other people, no matter how or whatever way you do it. Because in the end of the day, you always got to remember, you're gonna die.
All right. Well, it's the end of the episode. Truth for Dualism. Brothers and sisters, exercise your melanin. Ghoul can't be an engine for mycorrhizal. Just know that the world in your hand isn't natural. We'll talk about that in the next episode. We already got it all planned out.
Move the currents of your echoes, my friend.
Right.
Move the currents of your echoes.
You know what I'm saying? And tie your shoes too, man.
Yeah.
Tie your shoes.
Yeah.
Your shoes. Make sure they fit on you. All right, man. We out.
Don't buy shoes for somebody else if you don't need to. I feel you.
Wait, is that too empathetic when you buy shoes for someone else?
Well, you see, only when it's necessary. Don't do it for everybody.
What do you mean when it's necessary? Like, I can name you a couple examples of when I had to buy some shoes that were necessary. They're personal, and we'll talk about them off the mic.
Yeah, but like
Dualism.
Yeah, no.
What's up?
What I'm basically saying. Well, no, hang on. You're gonna start this. What I'm basically saying is that if a man don't got shoes, but he needs his shoes, lend him some shoes.
I mean,
but don't lend every man your shoes. Balance yourself. Good Lord.
I mean, you kind of just did something weird where you just said something that no one's ever said, and then you said something that everyone does, or everyone that wisdom says, I mean, balance is balance. Balance is key. Mm-hmm. But not letting another man your shoes is, I mean, it just sounded a little too direct. Like, I didn't feel the poetry in that. You just kind of said it like as if you literally meant that. And I didn't feel the poetry in that.
I don't think I was talking. I don't think because in
poetic.
In truth, when I was bringing
Justice.
it up, it was like an outward example of many things, but I was just using it as a good way to like visualize what I'm talking about.
Okay. Yeah, no. Say no more. Say less. It's okay. It's all right. No. It just, the tone of it was like,
because I'm not talking about shoes. I'm not just talking about like,
I was making
always
sure.
Make sure
we were talking about shoes.
No.
Buying other people's shoes.
It's just
an
example.
We weren't talking about shoes then.
We were just an example. I was trying to lead you out of it because I was like, I think he's actually thinking I'm talking about shoes, just specifically.
No, but there was a moment.
There
was a moment we were talking about shoes.
We were because you led to that.
But you can't go from like, all right, we talk about. Yeah, of course I led to that. Of course I led to that because you said don't buy someone else's shoes. And I asked if that's
no. I said no. Well, saying what I said was don't buy someone else's shoes unless you need to, unless you want to, but don't give everyone your shoes.
Right.
It's not. I'm not implying that you don't give anybody your shoes. I'm just implying, but I'm also not implying to always give someone your shoes.
You want to end the episode right there?
Yes.
Wait. Before we end.
What's up?
You never know if she's listening. I got a condom with your name on it, bitch. All right, man. I'll see you later. Oh, it's hung up on the wall. I hope it don't fall.
I hope it don't fall.
All we got is hope.
Yeah.
Empathy and apathy.
That's your
3 eyes.
Two quarters of the same coin. Two sides of the same coin. Two sides of the same coin. You flip it.
Yeah, you flip it.
Don't always get heads and don't always get tails.
Right. This has been a good episode, man. I'm gonna break the 4-4 and just say this has been a good episode, man. This has been a good episode, brother. Yeah, you know what I mean.
We'll see y'all next time.
Nah. Pull up.
What? What's up?
Let me break the fourth wall here and just say, Razorian speaks. True for dualism. We are not on your planet. Peace to the worlds with a Z.
Yeah.
X is the most important letter on the alphabet. Peace.